Hey, what's up? So NAMM, the massive music production convention, just happened. And at the show, you can check out all kinds of gear. You can actually play a lot of gear that's out on the show floor. You also get a chance to talk to a lot of these companies and get a real taste of what's going to trigger our gear acquisition syndrome, or gas, for lack of a better word. I had a lot of fun going. This was my first time. It's a bit daunting. It's just a massive event. As soon as you walk up the escalator after getting your badge, there's just tons of booths, noise everywhere, people just playing things. Some use headphones, some have speakers. It's a lot of fun, and it was great to talk to a lot of these companies and see what's coming and just kind of get a feel for everything going on in the music industry. It's not just hardware. There was a lot of software there. It was a great talk from Sound Toys talking about incorporating rhythms using their effects. But today I want to go over 5 of my favorite pieces of gear from the event. And while I wasn't able to capture a lot of audio of all the synths and things like that, there's a ton of performances, jams, and just noise going on all throughout the show floor. So I did capture some of that with my phone, and we're going to throw those samples into the SP404 and see if we can flip something. Timestamps are in the description if you want to get to a specific part. And now let's talk about some awesome gear. So my favorite piece of gear this year is actually favorite synth company, because there were really 2 synths that were out on display from them, and both of them were awesome. One was out already, and one I believe is coming out in April. And this is the company PWM. These synths are awesome. Analog synths, the first one was the Malevolent. This was a semi-modular monophonic synth that really gets some gritty, distorted tones. There's a lot of drive to it. Perfect for gnarly sound design, but as I was messing with the synth, you can really get some clean tones. It's got some triangle waveforms where you can get some nice plucks and drones to it. It really is like a gritty analog synth, but I like that you could get that variety to it. And the other synth on display was the upcoming Mantis. Now this thing, when you first look at it, looks a bit daunting. There's a lot of options, which is also a good thing because that means there's a lot of room for sound design. It's pretty easy to get a good sound going and just start jamming on it. And there's a lot of awesome presets that were built in. This is, I believe, a duophonic synth. I want to say they told me there that it was going to come out as a 4-voice paraphonic, but don't quote me. Online it's saying duophonic, so we'll stick with that. The one I was playing was actually duophonic. With 2 LFOs, built-in effects, 2 analog filters, and a whole lot more, you can get some really intricate sound design. In my time with it, I barely scratched the surface, but I was impressed with how good sounding it was, even with just messing with the filter on just a couple of patches and things like that. I like to have a lot of depth on a synth, but also be able to just pull up something quickly and start jamming, because you never know if an idea strikes. You want to get it done quick, but other times you really want to just go into the sound design and make something intricate. Okay, next up, Teenage Engineering. Now, if you're familiar with the channel, you know I love me some samplers, and I love Teenage Engineering with the PO33. When I heard that they were at the event, I rushed over there because I had to see if the EP133 was on the show floor, and it was. They had multiple little arcade booth, so I was able to go around with it. Unfortunately, they didn't actually have headphones on the booth, so it was pretty loud, and there was just, the show floor itself is really loud, but there were also sounds just from all the other booths right around it and the other EP133 stands that were there just making noise. So it was a little hard to get really deep with the machine, but I was able to get a drum beat going, loop it, and just mess with the effects and check out all the different features that I could. I was really impressed with the workflow. It's really easy. They had a couple of little instructions on the arcade booth, and it definitely just got you going. I wouldn't say it's that similar to the PO33 in terms of workflow. I was hoping it was a little similar, but yeah, my PO33 knowledge did not cross over that well into the EP133. That being said, this was on a show floor. There's tons of noise. There's lots of things going on. So if you have an EP133 and you find it similar to the PO33 or not similar like I think, let me know in the comments. After having a little bit of time with it, I definitely think it's a fun piece of gear. I'm not 100% sold on needing one, just because I still have the PO33 that does some things that I wish the 133 did, and I've got the 404, so having those 2, it doesn't seem like it has a place in my setup. But I think this is a really awesome sampler, and after having gotten my hands on it a little bit, I definitely think if you don't have a sampler, if you want to get into sampling, or if you just want a really unique and interesting sampler, despite having a bunch of other samplers, it's definitely worth checking out. I also noticed this little EP series written on the arcade booth there, which makes me think that they're going to be updating other POs into the EP series, because the EP133 is, I don't know if it's a spiritual successor or actual successor to the PO33. I hope that's a sign that other pocket operators are going to get updated into this new, bigger, and better EP series. All right, next up is Intuitive Instruments. Now, this thing, when you look at it, seems pretty daunting and like, what even is it? It seems kind of like a cross between an Ovation Launchpad, Ableton Push. It's not on the level of Ableton Push, but it can do a lot. And the most awesome part of it was the MKII, or MIDI Polyphonic Expression. So you can make VSTs, soft synths, samples sound a lot more realistic with the polyphonic expression. When you look at it, it seems a bit daunting, but it's not just a name. When you start messing around with it, it really is intuitive and just seems to flow. The workflow that they've gone with it, especially in the DAW that they built, it's kind of like a DAW Lite, at least from what they were showing me. It's really intuitive and easy to use, and I just started messing with it on the show floor and already was creating like a really cool beat and was like, I'm sold on this, I want it. Now, cooler heads prevail, but it's definitely an awesome piece of gear, and the price is ridiculous for what you get. It starts at $299. In terms of a Dawless setup, like for me, I could definitely see it working really well using MIDI CC, maybe mapping it to the Digitag and getting a lot of interesting sounds. I really like the hexagon keyboard. I don't know how else to say it, but it was pretty intuitive. It was a lot of fun to play. Definitely caught my eye, definitely worth looking into if you're looking for a MIDI keyboard and controller or anything like that. All right, next up is the ASM Hydra Synth. Now, I know these synths have been out for a while, but this was my first chance getting to check them out, and yeah, they're awesome. It really seemed like for the longest time analog synths were dominating the hardware market. Analog synths are awesome. As you can see, I got a lot of them. There's something to be said about variety, and digital and FM synths have a lot of sound design potential and getting really intricate and trippy sounds. So if you're into ambient or creating background pads, an FM or a digital synth is something interesting to consider in a Dawless setup. So I appreciate seeing this rise of FM and digital synths coming back, and we'll talk about another one in a minute. What I really like about the Hydra Synth is just going right to it and setting up a patch or even a preset. It sounds great right out the bat, especially with some of the presets that it comes with, which is really cool because you can get a great sound going without having to know too much about it. But it did seem like the more you start messing with all of the parameters and all of the options, you can get deep into the sound design, which is awesome. Especially in a Dawless setup, you can have something where you can get some really crazy sounds, sample it, do a lot with it. That's kind of like the missing piece in my setup personally, like having something that I can get really deep with. I love analog synths, and you can get a lot of variety from analog synths, but when you're using FM, you can just do so much with it, and pairing that with a Digitag or a sampler like the SP404, there's just so much room for exploration and things like that, that it's definitely something I'm looking into, not just the ASM Hydra Synth, but any FM synth. One thing I thought was really cool with these Hydra Synths, and let me know in the chat if this isn't completely correct, because I'm still learning about them, but it seems to me like all of the different hardware versions offer the same internal functions and builds, or at least very similar. The differences are external in terms of like the desktop not having a keyboard, the Deluxe having a massive keyboard, the Explorer being much smaller and more portable, and they're all at different price points. So I really like that because you can get this super powerful synth at any price point and any sort of build you need for your setup. I like that you have all of these different options. I spent most of my time with the Deluxe, which is the massive one, but I also got to play the much smaller one, and I really liked how small and pseudo-portable it was. All right, still on the FM kick a little bit here. The next one was Korg, and Korg came out swinging. They had a massive booth. I wasn't able to get really any pictures of it, but I'll put a couple of screenshots of some of my favorite synths. My favorite was the OP6 Mark II. This was a desktop or rack version that they had plugged into a MIDI keyboard, and man, I guess FM is just where my head's at right now, but this thing sounded so good. It was so fun. It was a lot of fun to just mess with, tweak it. When in doubt, go for the filter on any new synth. Like, just start messing with the filter and see what it sounds like, because that kind of, for me, is a litmus test of what sounds you're gonna get out of it. Obviously, there's a lot of different waveforms, oscillators, all that to know about, but just knowing what the filter sounds like, how the cutoff interacts with the resonance and all that kind of stuff, that's usually where I like to go first, and it's the most fun to just kind of tweak around. I was really hoping to check out the update to this, the NTS1, which is called the MTS-1 Mark II. It was there, but I went 2 days at this event, and the first day I checked out the OP6, and I spent too much time there. I was like, I need to go see what else is out there. And the NTS-1 was there, but I didn't get to play it. There was someone there. So I came back the next day and it was gone. Bummer, I really wanted to check that out. I was hoping to let you all know about it. We've covered the original a bit here on the channel, but yeah, if that's something you want me to check out, let me know. I'll try to get a hold of one, but it does seem promising from everything I've read about it. Finally, at the Korg booth, I checked out the Chaos Replay. This was originally billed as the SP404 killer, and as an avid SP404 user, I can tell you this did not do it for me. This isn't it. First of all, the SP, when you get up to it, it might look complicated, but it's very easy to just start doing a little bit on it. You can just start playing. This one, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's very complicated. And the workflow isn't very, what you see is what you get. It just like when you look at it, it's just a bunch of stuff all at once. Again, I'm on a show floor. There's a lot going on. If you own one and you love it, this isn't to hate on it, but it just seemed like it would take a little longer to figure out. The effects are awesome. I got some stuff going, but it just didn't make sense to, like, in terms of just trying to build a beat quickly, it did not make sense for me. Maybe you feel different, let me know in the comments, but at least in terms of being a 404 killer, I don't think it's it. It just doesn't seem like it. It looks cool, seems like it's awesome, but yeah, I'm not sure what the market is for that one. Maybe more for the live DJ performance with all of the built-in effects. The XY pad was awesome. That would be really cool to have for effects, especially paired with like an SP404. Finally, I want to talk about these Maker Heart pedals. Now, these pedals were awesome. I checked these out on the first day. The artwork is really cool. They sound amazing, and I think they're supposed to be in a pretty budget price range. The weird thing was, after the show, when I tried to find more information about them, I just found one website that was connected to Maker Heart, but not Maker Heart's website, and there's no price and no purchase options available. So I emailed the company. I haven't heard anything back yet, but if I do, I'll let you know in the comments. I really love the reverb, especially on this one in the overdrive. The chorus got nasty, which was awesome, but yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. I can't really find out. Maybe they're not out yet. I'm hoping the company responds because these were really cool and I'd love to know more about them and see, you know, if I can get my hands on the reverb. Okay, so those were my favorites from the show. Let me know in the comments what caught your eye. I gotta tell you, I really loved that PWM, those synths. They seem like a great fit for a Dawless setup, especially the new one, well, both, but the Mantis, especially for mine, seemed like a really good fit. And then that Hydra Synth looks awesome. So we'll see. You might see one on the channel at some point, but who knows? Beyond just all of the gear there, like I mentioned, there were a ton of performances, people just jamming on things, and just noise in general going on throughout the show. So I did my best to capture a couple different bits, and we're gonna throw those into the SP and then see if we can get something from it. They're noisy, there's a lot of bleed from other booths in terms of sound, so I don't know how it's gonna turn out, but let's see what we can do. Worst case, we could always try to stem split it in something like Koala or Serato Studio, but I'm hoping we don't have to do that. I'm gonna resample them into the SP rather than putting them through the computer. So I'm hoping maybe we can do some EQ and things like that on the way in to cut out any unwanted sounds, but let's just get them in and see what it sounds like. I'm not gonna film putting them in because they're on my phone, which I'm using to film, so I'll get them in the SP, we'll switch cameras, and we'll see what's going on. We've got a couple of sounds, and then I just made some drums at 96 BPM, just because that's what I'm feeling we're probably gonna flip in. So this is the first sample. And then this is the second. Maybe we can get some drums from this, I don't know. I'm thinking the biggest thing we're gonna get is from this one. And then this is the drums I've got. Lots of reverb on that snare, but I like how the snare kind of rides the reverb. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is take this, I'm gonna copy this, and we'll put it on a blank pad, because I'm going to see what we can do just chopping it up a little bit. So I think, because there's a lot of transients, we're just gonna manually chop it. All right, so it's a little sloppy. I'm gonna refine the chops a little bit and then just throw them into a new place on the SP. So here are the chops. We've got And then I've just put the drums here as well. It has been a minute since I've made a beat using just the SP, so we're gonna get reacquainted with the pattern sequencer. So I'm gonna go start our first one. Let's go 4 bars. And since I'm gonna just put that drum down first, I'm going to set the quantize to 100 and put the quantize to 1/4. So we've got our drums in. Let's shut off the metronome because I don't want that. And then I know with TR you don't need to do this because you can always go back and delete what's in there in pattern, but it's been months since I've used just the SP because I've been using the SP with the Digitac. More on that video up there if you want to check out that workflow. I like it a lot. It definitely solves a lot of the issues I have with the pattern sequencer. I forgot some of the things, and I've got an SP404 cheat sheet that is up for channel members. So if you need to learn your way around pattern sequencing, recording, sampling, anything like that for the SP404, check it out. It's free for channel members at any tier. And if you want to buy it separately, it's available on my website as a PDF for $1, sunwarper.com. All the links are in the description. You can hit join if you want to join for $1 on my YouTube to get it. Channel members also get a bunch of other features. If you join for the $5 Solar Sailor tier, you get all of the samples that I make in every video. It's the best way to help the channel, and it's truly appreciated if you want to check it out. Let's get back to it. So I've got this. So now I'm going to just record on top of it. Let's set the quantize to 1/8, and let's see what we get there. Oh, that's perfect. Now I'm going to just move that. That's the drums only. We're going to put that down there. I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to put a new copy here. And in here, I'm going to add some fills. I need some oomph on that low end. I'm just not hearing much low end. So we're going to go to an isolator, or equalizer, I mean. Okay, we're now running into an SP issue, but we'll fix it. So I want that equalizer there, but that takes up my performance slots. So let's go to cassette sim. I always like to have cassette sim, but this is already pretty messed up due to being an iPhone recording. So let's take that out of the mix and let's put on the equalizer here. Okay, I'm hearing some low end in this, and I want to see the 1 and the 3. Put a filter on just to see, and then on bus 2, let's take that equalizer. Let's resample this one here. Okay, let's just see if that, let's put that in. Take that volume down a little bit. Really just using it to thicken up a little bit. Let's see if we can get one little note somewhere in here. We'll get like a B section here, and let's just see what we find. It's a little something. First, we need to get the drums off of that bus. Yeah, that B section's kind of messy, so I don't know if we'll use that, but it was an interesting thought, but I think we're just gonna stick with that. That was just a quick jam, just seeing what we could do. We could throw in other samples, but I really like that main sample, and I mean, I tried this little B section. There's definitely something there in that other piano song, but again, I just wanted to do something quick. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see how to perform live sets with the SP404 after you finish tracks like this, check out this video next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.